In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Hopefully, you all will be fine. I am Abdul Khalik Darwish. Dear friends, many of us do spoil our life for the things which were not bigger at all. I am talking about the small, trivial problems created by other people, and we are the affectees. Our life get affected a very little bit of it, but we do think that maybe I have been affected a lot, that I am in trouble. As a matter of fact, the kind of friction, the kind of conflict we are having with some of the other people, as a matter of fact, these things are not big at all. Most of these, not necessarily each and every one, but most of these things are too small and can be overlooked. But since we are lacking the patience, we are not patient. Since we are lacking the tolerance, as we are not tolerant, since we are unwilling to ignore the smaller things which should have been ignored, now a kind of conflict starts between us and someone else. One person at one place, another person at another place. These small conflicts are enough to spoil our life, or enough to destroy our life, rather. If you go to the jail, speak to the inmates. If at all you try to know the people who have been murdered, the people who have been killed, the people who have been severely injured, try to probe what was the reason behind it. At many of the places, you will come to know that a kind of conflict was started between the two of these people, and the issue at hand was too small and could have been ignored easily. But the trouble is that one person does create a kind of irritant, a kind of very small, or a kind of nuisance for the other person, either intentionally or unintentionally. But the other person, instead of being patient and tolerant, instead of ignoring it, or even instead of speaking in a polite, sensible manner, the affected person fails to become patient, fails to become tolerant, fails to ignore. Not only this, rather react, and does react in a senseless manner, does react in a provocative manner. The first person who created a kind of nuisance or trouble was not a person polite enough, was not a person sensible enough. Rather, she was a person with a thick skin, and that is the reason, in overwhelming number or almost all of the cases, that they do create problem, they do create irritants and nuisance for the other people. But once somebody does realizes them that what you have done, what you are doing is not something reasonable at all, and you need to stop it. You need to stop it forthwith. Now, the first party, if at all, and in most of the cases, these people are these people are arrogant people. These people are not the peace loving people, so they react in a violent manner, or they do threaten to react violently. That is how many or even most of the troubles does get created. That is how many or maybe most of the conflicts and the fights and the squabbling initially, but the fight later does start. I think that first of all, we need to think, if at all somebody has created a kind of nuisance or a trouble for us, we need to know either this person has done it unintentionally and not deliberately, or this person is not a civilized person at all, not a polite person at all, and if at all I don't act or react in a sensible manner, in a sensible, in a polite but the firm manner, this person might start the bullying. These people are actually the bullies. Most of these, there are very few of those people who have done it inadvertently, and they will be quick to apologize, to seek the excuse, and will stop doing. But most of these, overwhelming number of these people, will take stand and will like to fight, because they think that they can blackmail and they can churn out certain undue advantages from you. I think so that I am not suggesting to be coward at all. Cowardice is not a solution, but obviously being violent and failing to handle it in a sensible manner is even a bigger foolishness. We don't need to become foolish. We do need to handle it in a sensible manner, being polite with the solid argument in the hand and speaking firmly to those people. Also, we need to know, we need to devise a kind of solution or a remedy, that if at all this person does not cooperate and stays adamant that whatever he she has done, they are on the right path, they are not going to budge. I think we need to handle it in a sensible, in an intelligent, but definitely not in a cowardice manner, not in a violent manner, because the cowardice or being violent, it is not the solution to any problem at all. On the one hand, on the other hand, you might be a sensible, might be a polite and a civilized person, but the party on the other side, they quite probably they are neither civilized nor polite. They are the people with the they might be there might be a person of the thicker skin who are going to start bullying, who are going to start fighting, because fighting, bullying, disrespecting somebody, getting disrespected, beating somebody, being beaten, abusing somebody, and being abused in return, that is not a problem for these people at all, because these people are actually the tough guys, and you most probably will not be a tough guy. You are rather a sensible, or even you might be a sensitive person, but it does not mean cowardice is not a solution to any problem at all, but being violent and being abusive in return, this is not something what you can afford, what most of the sensible people will not be able to afford it. So for that reason we don't need to go on that path alone. After all, we are not living in a jungle. Some of the people will disagree with me. They will say that there is lot of injustice here. I do agree with them, but still I don't think that this is a jungle, and a law of jungle is prevailing here, because there are certain departments of the state which can be consulted and contacted, where the help should can be sought, although it might be somewhat difficult, but still I don't think that a person is absolutely alone and feeling like she is in the jungle, where every big fish is eating the smaller fish, where the carnivorous animals are eating the herbivorous animals. I don't think so. Although the white collar crime is prevailing here in our society, but still, if it were true that Pakistan is the jungle and there is a law of jungle, I think so. If this were the case, the poor people would have been deprived of all of their belongings, of all of their possessions. There are enough number of people here in our society who were poor earlier. They worked hard, they worked positively, but today they are out of the poverty. Rather, they have become comfortable in the life. They have gained the affluence. Were it a jungle, and were there a law of jungle being applied in the society, I think then all of those people who developed, traveled from poverty to affluence, from being a deprived person to become to having the comforts and the luxuries of life, all of these people would have been looted and cheated. I think so that we should stop pursuing the conflicts in a violent or even in a cowardice manner. Let's try to handle the issues in a sensible, in a polite manner. Let's try to develop tolerance, patience, and let's try to ignore the smaller irritants, the